James Parker. Welcome back to the big show. And Texas is still the top story of the entire nation right now in our redistricting fight. And let me go ahead and put some parameters on this. I don't think these guys are going to go to jail. I don't think they're going to lose their seat. They might lose like a committee chairmanship or seniority in whatever committees they're in, or some little slap on the wrist. But if they do get some sort of significant punishment, if they get charged with a crime, anything more than a fine, if they do lose their seats, that would be a first. Because I've seen this, you've seen this. These guys never get held to account. And what does that mean, though? What does that mean if they're never held to account? This is the context I wanted to start with. How complicit is the GOP in this? And I don't mean you if you're a Republican, or Republicans like with a small r. I mean the guys that are elected in positions of power in the Texas House and the Texas Senate. Are they complicit in this? Do they not care whether or not they get the map? Do they not care as long as they get the map? The redistricting map, the seats redrawn. Because there's no doubt in my mind that the redistricting Dodgers should all at least lose their seats. I would like to see some of them charged with a crime. Maybe go to jail. I don't mean for like years at a time, but like a week in jail or 30 days in jail and you lose your seat. I don't think I'm going to get the jail thing, and that's fine. I would settle for, in a nice negotiating fashion, them losing their seats. That's not going to happen either. I have no hope. I have no optimism that's going to happen. I'm not a cynic by nature, but I am a cynic by observation. That's for damn sure. Now, Greg Abbott's going around saying that, they've given up their seats. Well, do something about it then. Make it happen.
And I believe they have forfeited their seats in the state legislature because they're not doing the job they were elected to do.
Yeah. So, okay. They forfeited their seats. Kick them out. Here's something else you could do. Republicans in Austin, real brain buster here. Why don't you pass a law that says if you flee the state to avoid a quorum or to avoid a vote, you automatically give up your seat? So in the future, they won't try this again. This has happened in the past. This has happened just a few years ago, and then it happened, I guess 20 years ago was the first time I really remember it happening and having to cover it on talk radio. What was that, like 2003 or something? If it happened back then, if you put one of these laws in place, then it wouldn't have happened today. You wouldn't be dealing with this right now. So not only should you adequately punish these guys, but you should also reset the stage so this doesn't happen in the future. Because what you're giving them is a veto over everything that you possibly could want to do. So yeah, at least lose their seat, probably go to jail. But the real fix here, so this doesn't happen in the future, is pass a law that makes it automatic. You flee a vote, you're out. You flee a vote. Put some real teeth into it. You flee a vote, you're out. You automatically lose your seat. And if you come back to Texas, you do 90 days in jail. How about that? Something. What would you do? How would you prevent this from happening in the future? What would you do about it now? I want you to go ahead and say it out loud. And then I want you to watch the people that you sent to Austin not do these very good ideas that I just thrown out and a bunch of listeners are about to throw out too. 800-288-9227. This is Michael and Hunter. You're on WBAP.
Hey, James. Love the show.
Thank you, Michael.
All right. Just want to say they've done this before. I think Abbott's just doing some pro wrestling here, kind of like he did with the border. He tried to close it, but the horses were already out of the barn when he closed the door. Same thing here. He's just trying to say the right things that keep the base happy, and that's it.
Yeah, I don't think they're really bothered about it. I don't think they're really that much into the maps. I don't think they care much either way.
I'm with you. I think Abbott's just trying to say the right stuff to, stay on the dance floor, but real Team Red knows what he's up to, and just kind of pathetic. I do think AG Ken Paxton is awesome. He does a great job. Abbott, not so much.
Well, he might be. The real problem we have is the rhinos, the people that voted for these guys that go down to Austin and don't do what the voters put them in office to do. And I really don't know how to fix that other than pay attention in the primaries. And if you get a bad result out of the primary, you have to vote third party. I know you hate it. I know you hate the Democrats and you don't want to let them win. But if we had all done this, if we did this in 2008 when they tried to give us John McCain, I can't believe Republicans actually went to a ballot box and voted for John McCain. He is not a Republican by the ideological senses. I can't believe they did the same thing for Mitt Romney. And if people wouldn't have talked me down then and said, no, you can't do it. You're going to let the Democrats win. We're not going to have a country with Democrats in. Well, they won. And if you'd have done it back then, we wouldn't be dealing with it now. And that's kind of like how I feel about this whole redistricting thing. If we put the hammer down now, we won't have to deal with this. But also, if we had done it 20 years ago, we wouldn't be dealing with it now. Yeah, I agree.
Same rhinos voted for H.E. Paxton's impeachment. It's just
exactly
wrestling.
Well, I do have the rhino list. If you need the rhino list, send me an email. I'll send it to you.
I got my stink eye right on it, my dude.
You already got it? Oh, now I like it. All right, that's Michael and Hunter. We'll continue talking about redistricting next with Victoria Churchill from Young Voices. And what do you think? What should we do about this redistricting? Are they going to get punished? How do you prevent this in the future? Do they even care? 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker on News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. Hey there, welcome back to the James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM WBAP. Redistricting in Texas has the whole nation talking right now. Some of the state legislators that fled did a press conference yesterday, and I thought that was kind of amusing because they did the press conference from way up in Massachusetts. So we have the political apparatchiks in Illinois. I know the S is silent. Sorry. New York and now Massachusetts. Pretty much the three bluest states are the mouthpiece. Boy, that'll win over the average Texan. Why don't you just throw in California while you're at it? My next guest, Victoria Churchill from Young Voices, coming back on the James Show. And I want to start with you, Victoria, by asking if Texas gets to redistrict in this way, we're seeing a lot of threats that other states are going to follow suit. Do you see this as sort of a row of dominoes that's about to start falling down? Well, Victoria Churchill, when it comes to this whole redistricting fight, I have noticed, it's been my observation, that every state has a gerrymandered map. Is that a fair assessment in your observation? Well, the other thing that we're watching here in Texas is this has happened before. This happened a few years ago. This happened 20 years ago. The likelihood that these people are going to be punished, a lot of us, including myself, are really cynical about the prospects of these guys being punished, which means they'll probably just keep doing it in the future. Do you think that these people will actually face any significant negative consequences for fleeing the vote? All right, Victoria Churchill, good chat. How do we find your work online these days? Oh, we'll definitely have you back. Thank you very much. There's Victoria Churchill again. To the phones we go. You heard what she thought. Victoria Churchill from the Daily Mail. What do you think? Let's ask Bill and Garland. You're on WBAP.
Yeah, I think this is all. Nothing's going to happen. These people will not be punished.
I know, right?
It's just a joke. It's just like this thing in Washington. They're after Brennan, Clapper. Nothing. They're going to waste hundreds of millions of dollars investigating this, and nothing is going to happen. The deep state is going to kick in, and it's going to be over. And this Texas thing is, I love Governor Abbott, but nothing's going to happen here. You know that.
I think so. Now, norms can be broken, and, history doesn't always repeat itself. But I'm super cynical. I hear it in your voice. I feel the same way, Bill and Garland. I wish they would. But congressional investigations, do they ever land anyone significant in jail? And I mean significant. Like a Steve Bannon will go to jail, or a Paul Manafort will go to jail, or Scooter Libby will go to jail. But it's never like a Hillary Clinton. It's never like a James Comey. It's never any of these people that you consider to actually be in the elite upper crusty. Ray in Austin, you're on WBAP.
Hi, James. I always enjoy a nice laugh listening to your show in the afternoon.
Thank you. I hope you're laughing with me and not at me.
No, with you all the way.
Okay, cool.
I think they need to pass 3 more maps, one that nets 6 seats, one that nets 7, and one that nets 8, and attach them to dates and say, if you show up after this date, then the 6-seat map is kicking in. After that date, the 7-seat map, then the 8-seat map. Or
I don't know if they can do that. I think they've kind of mapped out or maxed out what they can map out as far as getting extra seats. If they could get more, they probably would have drawn it into this map to begin with.
Then let's add some legislative desires on there that they will hate, and say, all right, well, we're going to go ahead and include this in the next round of votes if you show up beyond this date. Something that's not as quite the level of criminal, but might take a bite out of them.
I think what you're getting at here is the old Sun Tzu principle. Did you ever read Art of War?
I did not, but I like it.
Okay, so like if you have your army that you're trying to defeat or your enemy you're trying to defeat, and they're all holed up in a fortress, you don't attack the fortress. You go attack something that's precious to them to make them come out of the fortress. So yeah,
let's go Sun Tzu them. Come on.
Right, that's not a bad idea. See, Ray just intuitively thought it like one of the greatest war generals in history, channeling 2,500 years of wisdom. All the way from Austin. All right, 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. Coming up on the James Show, if the redistricting Dodgers aren't punished, doesn't that make the GOP representatives complicit? I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM, WBAP. Now, homeowners, listen up. We are still getting some weather. We are still getting rain. We're supposed to be in drought season by now. We're not supposed to be dealing with storms. So your roof has really taken a beating in 2025, more so than a normal year. And if you have any doubts, I want you to call my friends, the Hopkins, over at Blue Ribbon Roofing. John Hopkins got on my roof and did the free roof inspection. I'm telling you to set up right now. Yeah, the guy who owns the joint, he brought his own ladder, hopped up there, showed me some pictures, talked about what he saw. He said, Parker, you literally have the same shingles I have on my personal house. They redid his roof recently, and it was the same style. It was the same brand. It was the exact same color. I don't know other adjectives to say about roofing shingles because John Hopkins is the expert. Tish is the expert, and their son Trevor, also in the business. So don't just believe me. Go to blueribbondfw.com, read some of the 5-star reviews, and then do what I did. Set up your free inspection. If there's nothing wrong with it, it doesn't cost you anything, and you'll be glad you did. If there is some problems, they'll help you work through it, give you some options, and if you need help with that pesky insurance company, they're pros at that too. Go to blueribbondfw.com. We're going live to Fort Stewart in Georgia, where Army officials are giving an update on the Fort Stewart shooting. All right, we're going now. Army officials are giving an update to the press in a press conference on the Fort Stewart shooting that happened around 10 o'clock for us this morning. We go now live to Georgia. Hey there. Welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP. Yeah, terrible news as we were dropping in on the press conference that's happening in Fort Stewart, Georgia. We had 5 soldiers that were shot by another active duty soldier this morning, about 10 o'clock our time, and he was caught about 10:30-ish our time. There was a lockdown for long before the James Show started, and so we were just waiting for more information about that because other than 5 people shot but expected to survive, we didn't know enough to even really talk about. So now we do. We have the name of the suspect. We have a little bit more information that he was an active duty soldier, and all 5 guys are expected to survive. We've also had the Army officials above him and all the way up to Dan Bongino, Carolyn Levitt. A lot of people are putting posts on social media now, starting the chatter here. But 5 soldiers were shot today in an active shooter incident. So we don't know the motive yet. They didn't admit it in the press conference from what we saw so far. In fact, I was listening a little bit before we broke in, and the lady that was sort of introducing this guy said they're not going to talk about the motive or answer any questions about the motive thus far, which, I know, we shouldn't be so cynical, but doesn't that make it suspicious? Also, for you people keeping track here, does this fit the definition of white rural rage? No, it does not. Does that matter? No, it doesn't, but that's the silly games that are played when it fits the narrative, embarrassingly. Fort Stewart's a pretty big installation, 15,000 active duty soldiers. It's about 40 miles southwest of Savannah, Georgia. It's a huge place, not too far from the Atlantic Ocean over here, but almost touching South Carolina as well. So sorry to have to give you that update. It's a tragedy at Fort Stewart. Luckily, it looks like everyone is going to be fine, but 5 people shot, mass shooting, military base. That doesn't happen very often. So also, glad they caught him as fast as they did. Do we want to speculate on his motive? Not yet, but we probably will on tomorrow's show. You know, it's kind of weird to do it that close to the event. It's also can be a shameful thing if you get something really wrong before you have some crucial pieces of information. So we'll keep an eye on that. And on the next break, I'll go review what else was said at the press conference, pass along anything that I think you might be of interest, that might be of interest to you. All right. My next story, though, I don't know, seems kind of silly when you talk about 5 shot soldiers, but they're all going to be okay. I'm really interested in this story about the Wild Club that was shut down in Deep Ellum. Do you know the place, Rodeo Dallas? If not, totally understandable. If you hang out in Deep Ellum any, you definitely know it. And if you think, like, I hang out in Deep Ellum, but which one is that? That's the one that has the big open window. So if they pull up the shutters on the corner of, I think it's Elm and Crowdis, the club is like wide open. It's just like a little waist-high wall and then a big open. And when I say window, there's nothing there, just like a hole in the wall. So when the weather's good, they have it open and their loud music like streams out into the street. They have the mechanical bull, so even if you're walking down the street, you can watch people ride it or fall off of it. But the reason it's getting shackled is because the crowd that it attracts has not been very fun for the rest of the neighbors. Now, Rodeo Dallas doesn't mind. Rodeo Dallas is making money. Rodeo Dallas sold more alcohol last month than any other bar in Deep Ellum. It was the 11th highest bar in Dallas, according to some of these reports. And I actually... I've never set foot in there, but since it's right next to a place where I have gone on a semi-regular basis, I'm one who has seen the crowd that it attracts. I am one who has seen how it spills out into the sidewalk. And I also understand how it sells more alcohol than any other bar, even though it's kind of shady, kind of sketchy, kind of rough, kind of violent, because that place rocks even on a Tuesday. Even on a Wednesday, they get a crowd when most other bars aren't doing so well. So I get it. I understand why, but I'm sort of conflicted in this one. The only thing that makes me okay with this club being shut down is that the landlord did it and not the city or the state or the county or some government entity. Because I kind of bristle. I find that abrasive when the government can pick and choose which businesses stay open and stay closed. And I felt like that before COVID. But since COVID, I'm incredibly intolerant of giving power that's so easily corruptible there. But in this one, this was a landlord that did it. So this does sit well with my little delicate libertarian sensitivities. And I just think that's awful, though, how one business... It's crazy because WFAA went and talked to a bunch of their neighbors. How one business was just sort of universally despised in a neighborhood that's supposed to be all about partying. This was WFAA's report last night.
Under the glow of Deep Ellum's neon lights, Rodeo Dallas has drawn a crowd, but it also attracted police cars. Tonight, both are gone after Rodeo's property owners moved to close the popular bar. Matt Howerton spoke with people in the area who say they're celebrating.
Deep Ellum is in a constant fight for its reputation. And moments like these don't help.
There have been many chances that I think that rodeo has had to kind of clean up their act.
Stakeholders here say it's why rodeo was chained shut Tuesday, closed by its property owners Westdale Real Estate Investment and Management, a heavy player in the neighborhood, for, quote, lease violations.
There's a responsibility that you have to not only the community that you're in, but also your patrons.
Dan Murray is one of those stakeholders. His bar, Armory, is a nearby neighbor to rodeo.
Their clientele
Doritos
would
Golden
just
Sriracha.
Get hammered in there, and then they would
Spicy.
just kind of get pushed out into the street and then let the rest of the neighborhood deal with them.
July wasn't the best month in Deep Ellum. Several were shot in a parking lot following the 4th. DPD even shooting a man with a gun running towards them, they say. These fights outside of rodeo were also that weekend. Councilmember Jesse Moreno holding a meeting with business owners after that. On Tuesday, he posted this photo of rodeo's doors shut, writing, "If you know, you know."
Honestly, I feel like it's a win for the neighborhood.
Brittany Madler is a Deep Ellum patron and former bartender in the area.
It was a gamble with who came down here.
Yeah, rodeo's sick. It's kind of like the staple of Deep Ellum.
But some who know the good times rodeo brings can't seem to make sense of it all.
I don't know. I kind of don't think that the city or the government should have control of how a business owner makes their money.
Per the state, the bar did a ton of business, a top earner for Dallas alcohol sales in the month of May, sitting at 11.
Westdale, who owns the property here, and others in Deep Ellum, provided us no comment when we reached out.
We also reached out to the owners of rodeo, nothing yet. In a neighborhood where image matters, a big question remains, will Deep Ellum without rodeo start to feel like itself again? In Dallas, I'm Matt Howerton.
So, if you believe what the Dallas Morning News says, City Hall had leaned on the landlord to kick those guys out. Are you comfortable with that? Are you comfortable with a landlord kicking out a business that's otherwise paying their bills and being profitable and not breaking the law? Are you comfortable with City Hall leaning on the landlord? Would it bother you if City Hall had just shackled the doors and locked them out themselves? And again, conflicted on this one. You're a property owner. You should be able to do whatever you want as long as you're not breaking any other laws. And they weren't really breaking any other laws. But then again, there's no doubt that neighborhood is better off. Deep Ellum is better off. The other businesses, the other patrons, the other artists and musicians, tourists are better off now that place is gone. Where do you stand? 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. More on Rodeo Dallas being shut down next on The James Show. News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. Hey there, welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. Well, for the rare times that you go down to Deep Ellum, it's going to look a little different. And if you've felt like you didn't like the scene too much in the past, one of the problems might have been this place that just got closed down, Rodeo Dallas. And it is a place that stood out in Deep Ellum. It is a place that caused a lot of problems with the neighbors, as you heard the WFAA report. Doesn't seem like anybody was a big fan of this place. I mean, I'm sure the owners were. I'm sure they like to make money hand over fist. But it was loud. It did stick out. It did bother the neighbors. And look, Deep Ellum's not supposed to be the place where it's nice and quiet and cozy and everyone's well behaved and there's white tablecloths on all the fine dining restaurant tables. It's supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be a little raucous. It's supposed to be a party, but not a party that gets all shooty, not a party that gets all stabby, not a party that spills out on the street and swings fists. That's the part that nobody was liking. And this has always been sort of a struggle with people who are serious about property rights. People are serious about freedom. People are serious about the government minding its own damn business. And if I'm not breaking the law, then you can leave me the hell alone. But on the flip side, that street's going to be a lot nicer to walk down now that this place is closed. This might be beneficial for the rest of the bars around the place. This might be the difference between a tourist enjoying their stroll through Deep Ellum and being a little freaked out and saying, maybe next time we'll go to Plano or Bishop Arts or Lower Greenville or somewhere else. Oaklawn and Cedar Springs, pretty safe. But yeah, that's the balance that you have to kind of find. And then who do you give this power to? Do you really let the corrupt people who are running around City Hall, do you really let them run around with the power to just shut down any business whenever they see fit? That's a scary proposition too. Because on a long enough time scale, every lever of power that you give to someone in government on a long enough time scale, it's going to be abused for political purposes. Now, I'm not saying they shut it down because the owners were Trump donors, but if you give them this power and you do not monitor it severely, then that's what's going to happen. That's what's at the bottom of this slippery slope. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. Yeah, and also interesting news that I heard this morning. There was a bomb threat aimed at Texas Democrats. Well, Texas in air quotes. They weren't in Texas. Some of the Democrats that fled the state, the redistricting Dodgers, are holed up in the luxury hotel in Illinois. And they had to evacuate the hotel early this morning after a bomb threat was made. And it wasn't made against the hotel. It was made specifically against some members there, according to the party and representatives. So the Democrat caucus chair, Representative Gene Wu, said it was made against members of the Texas House Democratic Caucus. Now, everyone's safe. Nothing got blown up. Everybody's fine. It was just a minor disruption, an otherwise peaceful stay at the hotel. But listen to this. We have a couple of quotes here from WFAA. Ann Johnson, a Democrat from Houston, said earlier this morning, a bomb threat forced us to evacuate our hotel. Thankfully, no one was harmed. And then her and John Busey, B-U-C-Y, I don't know if I'm saying that right. Maybe he made Buc-ee's. They were saying it was reckless rhetoric from Ken Paxton in a social media post saying he would hunt down Democrats who left the state. Isn't that amazing? The reckless rhetoric inspired and led to this threat of violence. Now, remember, violence or intimidation for political purposes could be considered terrorism. So is this a terror attack? It's a terror bomb threat call. No one got attacked. No one got hurt. But there was the threat. There was the intimidation factor. So does this really meet the definition of terrorism? Absolutely not. However, I just love the idea that they can admit reckless rhetoric, saying you would hunt down people, can cause violence, can lead crazy people, unhinged people, politically motivated people to commit acts of violence. Oh, really? Well, then can you stop calling us literally Hitler? Can you stop calling us literally Nazis? Can you stop calling us racist, sexist, bigot, homophobe, transphobe, Islamophobe, all the phobes, all the terrible things in the world? Stop associating us with them. Stop calling us climate deniers, which is a quite clear allusion to Holocaust deniers. Thank you very much. Stop saying we want apartheid and comparing things that we're doing. Oh, they just want this is apartheid. That's what this is. Stop calling us fascists. Stop calling us like everything we do fascist. They want to redistrict. Oh, that's fascist. They want to get porn out of school libraries. Oh, that's fascist. Will you stop it? Because you're admitting that reckless rhetoric, over the top, heated rhetoric can cause crazy people to do crazy things, can incite violence against politicians and people for political reasons. By the way, here's the tweet from Attorney General Ken Paxton that happened August 3rd, so 3 days ago. Democrats in the Texas House who try and run away like cowards should be found, arrested, and brought back to the Capitol immediately. We should use every tool at our disposal to hunt down those who think they are above the law. So you have 2 Texas state representatives who are in Illinois right now who think that rhetoric goes too far. Wow. That's too far, huh? I mean, I have some Jasmine Crockett audio almost every day this week where she's saying something worse, where Donald Trump is a POS. Remember that one? You got to go all the way back to yesterday for that one, Trump being a POS. How about the casual racism that she throws around where she's like, we're not cowards. Me and the lady next to me, I'm black, she's Latino, so we're not cowards. With the implication that, you know, other races would be lesser than in the same situation. No concern there. No concern about being called literally Hitler. Huh. That's interesting. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. Coming up next on the James Show, we got some more audio to run by you, and you're going to love this one. It comes from yesterday's show. And just like I pull audio from some other shows sometime and we make a topic out of it here, we're going to pull audio from yesterday's James Show. A caller had called in, was making a decent point about redistricting, but then got into this whataboutism situation here. So you'll hear Don from Grand Prairie, who is unable to admit that when it comes to this heated rhetoric, that one side's worse. We'll replay it next, and then I'll get your thoughts on that coming up on the James Show. News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. Well, hey there, fellow Texans. Welcome back to the James Show. News Talk 820 93.3 FM, WBAP. Let's go. And I hope he's listening today. He's welcome to call back in. But on yesterday's show, this was Don in Grand Prairie. This is a conversation I've had over and over and over throughout the years. It's only gotten more robust as time goes along. And it's this sort of whataboutism on which side is more behaved, which side needs to tone it down. Because that's an argument that you've had. I know you've talked to your friends about it, or your spouse about it, or maybe even your kids about it. But I find it hard to believe that the whataboutism can even be a card that's played in this arena. And I'm one of the guys that is sort of a both sides guy on some of these issues. I hate both parties. Both parties deserve criticism when it comes to growing government. Both parties deserve criticism when it comes to not following the Constitution. Both parties deserve criticism when it comes to, my preference on how drugs are regulated, or what's going on with the FDA, what's going on with the FCC. But there's so many things that they do have a strong overlap on. And both sides is a legit argument in many facets. But now when it comes to a couple things, number one is the rhetoric. What's the words? What's the worst word that Team Red calls Team Blue? And I'm not talking about, you can go on, find some toothless hick in the middle of nowhere on Twitter who said a horrible word or the N-word or something. No, I mean like politicians, media people on Fox News or MSNBC or some of these other networks, talk radio hosts, actual people in positions of power, elected officials, city councilmen. What's the worst word that Team Red calls Team Blue? Because Team Blue calls Team Red horrible, calls you probably horrible words all the time. You know how ugly and nasty it is to be called a racist? To be accused of holding the terribly anachronistic ideal that you can determine based on someone's skin color, other endemic traits. Yeah, that's a pretty horrible thing to be called, especially when you consider the history of racism and slavery and Jim Crow and segregation and lynching and all the ugly stuff that pretty much Democrats did up until about 60 years ago. Yeah, it's an ugly thing to be called. It's a huge insult. And it's usually a huge lie. I mean, sometimes an actual racist will get called a racist, but most of the time that word is being misused. And it's ugly to misuse it. Because if you misuse it, then you're exploiting the suffering of minorities based on the color of their skin from generations past in order to, emotionally blackmail your current political climate? Yeah, that's ugly, immoral, unethical stuff. So that's just one example. I could throw in transphobic, Islamophobic, homophobic, racist, bigot, white supremacist, literally Hitler, Nazis, fascist. You get called horrible names all the time. What's the worst thing that goes the other direction? So that's kind of the setup I wanted to have here. I'm going to replay the caller. I guess we got to go back in the time machine. Garrett brought the flux capacitor. So we're going to travel back in time about 23 hours. It's all we're traveling back in time, but that still counts. This is Don in Grand Prairie from yesterday. Ready, Don, go.
Here's the thing. Both sides need to cut it down. Trump has to cut it down. When Trump makes insults that are incredibly rude and curse words, and, he does it, it's ha-ha funny, but when Crockett does it, how dare she? Both sides. I'm seeing this as an independent. I'm tired of it. What Crockett said was wrong. What she said was wrong.
All right, listen.
They have no room to talk.
I mean, there's a lot of places where this both sides argument works. I don't think it works here because what is the big slur that Team Red calls Team Blue, either their politicians or their voters? Do we call them Nazis? Do we call them literally Hitler? Do we call them racist, sexist, bigot, homophobe, Islamophobe? These terrible phobic things. What do we call them?
I heard some Republicans call them like idiot bird brain. I heard some Republicans even call them stuff like call them racist. They're racist too.
Right. So it's not nearly as bad. So what you didn't give me any examples that were even close to the level of Nazi or literally Hitler.
Yeah, and that's wrong too. but it just.
But it's not
neither
wrong
side should be
too.
doing it.
It's not wrong too. There is a level of hyperbole that exists aimed from Team Blue to Team Red that isn't reciprocated. So the both sides. That's my point. The both sides doesn't work in this argument. Because like the worst thing I accuse them of.
The Republicans are innocent on this. They never said anything insulting.
No, that's not what I said at all. I'm saying the hyperbolic language is far worse on Team Blue than it is on Team Red.
You know, you could Google and you could probably get, for every example of a reg act, you could get a blue if you Google it.
I don't think you can.
On both sides.
I don't think you can.
Well, have your producer look and see.
Here.
I'm just saying, as an independent, because I never voted straight ticket in my life, I voted Republican, Democrats, for president.
Hey, listen, you can still be an independent and admit that one side throws a lot more invectives with a lot more extreme meaning behind them. It's okay. You don't have to.
You know what? Neither side should be doing it, and I want it to end. I want both sides to knock it off.
But both sides aren't doing it. We don't regularly.
Okay, you're saying Republicans never said anything.
No,
racist?
that's not what I'm saying at all. No, that's not what I'm saying at all. Are you intentionally misunderstanding my point? Yeah.
Are you intentionally misunderstanding mine?
No, I'm not.
Okay. I just want the rhetoric to stop. Both sides. That's what I want.
Did Biden get called literally Hitler? Did Biden get called literally Hitler?
You could Google it. I don't know. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
He's been insulted.
The answer's no. The answer's no. And listen, it's not the same. Team Blue calls Islamophobe, transphobe, racist, sexist, bigot, Nazi, literally Hitler, apartheid. It doesn't go both ways on that one. It doesn't. Wake up. And it's okay to say that in some instances, one team is worse than others, behaves worse than others. And in other instances, maybe Team Red's worse. But in this one, it's not. It's not even close. All right, so we're flashing back through time from yesterday to today. I don't think I got through to him. What could I have said there that could have changed Don's mind? Because I feel like this is one of the easiest arguments to win. You know, right up there with men can have babies. Oh, well, we can have that argument any day you want. But on this one, I don't think I got through. What do you say to get through to these people? Because I think the rest of us, most of the people listening, agree that one side's a little more unhinged than the other one. And it's not just speech either. When Elon Musk was perceived to be a Democrat, Teslas weren't being keyed. His dealerships weren't being set on fire. No one was spray painting the windows and then chucking a Molotov cocktail in there. Right? When right-wingers get upset, the Tea Party happens. When left-wingers get upset, the local downtown burns. Foot Lockers are looted. Dart cops are shot in your own downtown just a few blocks from where I'm at right now. What did I get wrong? Did I get it wrong? Or am I wrong? I don't understand how I didn't convince him on that one. 800-288-9227. I think I need your assist here. 800-288-9227. How do I change someone like Don's mind? That's next on The James Show. News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. Hey there. Welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP. I am your host, James Parker, and we're talking about, I may have failed you as a talk show host yesterday. Had a call in, given what I thought was an easily refutable argument. Well, both sides need to tone it down. Both sides need to tap the brakes and calm down a little bit. Well, one side needs to calm down a little bit more than the other, and I don't think I won him over. What did I do wrong there? We were talking about Don in Grand Prairie, who had called yesterday. And I was trying to point out that, almost all of, not all of it, but almost all of it is a one-way street. When you see the riots, when you see the Teslas getting keyed, when you see just the words that are thrown, when you see who's getting shot at, who's throwing bricks, who had a bleeding ear last July. What did I miss? 800-288-9227. I feel like I should have done better on that yesterday. Let's go to the phones and talk to Allison Richardson. You're on WBAP.
Hi, James. As a HR professional, if Miss Crockett would have called an employee those brown folks, that's grounds for termination. She can't even use those words.
I think she can. I know you're the one in human resources, so you know better than me. But who are you to tell black people what they are allowed to call each other?
Oh, well, she said us brown folks. She said us brown folks. Now, listen, I'm Hispanic. I can tell you can't call me brown.
Yeah, well, my grandfather was Hispanic. He never called himself brown. He would call himself different, like a mestizo or Chicano. But never.
You can call me Texan. I was born and raised in Rowlett, Texas. But she said us brown folks.
Yeah, let me play that so everyone else is caught up on what you're talking about, because I think you're bringing up a good point here.
So I am Texas Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, but I am standing here with one of my faves right here, honey. Yes. Listen, and guess what? Neither one of us are in Texas. You know why? Because we know that it is time to stand up, rise up, and fight back against these fools that think that we're weak. One thing that they should know, when it comes to a black woman and a Latina,
that's right,
they're about to get a little spice, okay?
So now everyone else is caught up. I think you're making the great point.
Well, and not only that, later on in that conversation, she says us brown. She said brown folks. You can't use that terminology. You can't.
Agreed. So what did I do wrong with Dawn? Why doesn't Dawn see that? Why doesn't Dawn in Grand Prairie see that?
You just can't argue with unreasonable. You just can't. It's selective reasoning, and he doesn't have any. There's nothing you could have done or said.
Well, he has a blind spot. Do I have a blind spot like that? Is there something I don't know about my own worldview? Like Dawn doesn't get it?
Well, you and I are on the same side, so I don't think so at all.
All right.
I do.
Yeah, of course, you're right. You agree with me, Alice. Thank you. Let's go to Jason in McKinney. Hey, Jason, you're on WBAP.
Hey, I got, some points I want to make. Hopefully I can get through them all. But I do agree with some things that Don did say. There is rhetoric on both sides that's awful and toxic. And it's not going to stop going forward. So we can say what we want to, agree, disagree. The rhetoric now is ratcheted up so much. It's so partisan.
All right, Jason, I feel like you're doing the same thing Don did. Just because I said the left is worse with their rhetoric doesn't mean, I'm not saying that there has never been any hateful rhetoric said from a member of Team Red.
Okay, that's great. Okay. I agree. Totally agree.
Well, no, but
with that being said, I heard you say in the beginning of the show when I started listening that the right doesn't say any worse or the right doesn't say worse words than the left does about the right. Is that what I understand?
The rhetoric that they use is far more extreme and condemning, because like a racist isn't like a disagreement here. Racist, you're condemning the human being as a bad human being. And that's what they mean by that. It's not like we have a difference of opinion. It's not like you're an Austrian economist and you're a supply side economist. No, you're a racist. You're a bad person.
Okay. So just to set up this, I used to be a Democrat for a lot of years, and now I'm an independent with a lot of libertarian views. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. So when I have a conversation with my conservative friends, this is what I've been called, and I wanted to kind of make a short mental list.
Sure.
I don't appreciate these things. I've been called a communist. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, in 1950s, I would have been locked up for that. Okay. I've been called a libtard. Do I have cognitive issues? I sure in heck hope not, and I find that insulting. I've been called a snowflake. I think that's a jab at my manhood. And the most disgusting thing that I have been called by my conservative friends, having a very civil political conversation, is because I'm pro-choice up to at least to the point to the woman knows that she's pregnant so she can have a choice. I've been called a baby killer to the point to where my daughter used to play with a friend. Long story short, she mentioned a Taylor Swift song at her friend's house, and her parents called my daughter a liker of a baby killer's music. When she came home in tears, I drew the line right there, and they no longer play together, long story short, though. But like I said, when I talk to conservatives, when I have trying to have a pleasant, meaningful, constructive conversation, these are the things that I've been called. Terrible things.
I'm happy to let you speak here, Jason. I'm just running out of time because you were making my point. The worst you can come up with is snowflake and libtard.
I said baby killer.
Oh,
James.
baby killer. Yeah, but you weren't even called that. Your daughter, okay, baby killer. That's not even that bad. That's not even that bad. Compared to Nazi, sir?
Are you insane?
Compared to
You would call it a
apartheid?
baby killer?
Listen.
I would.
Can't
baby killer, James.
Jason,
Seriously.
Jason. If someone kills a baby that has just been born like 1 minute ago, they're a baby killer, right?
I do not.
Just come on. I'm out of time. I'm out of time.
I don't condone that, James.
Jason,
I'm just saying,
Jason. Just yes or no. Just yes or no.
You're not gonna send, sorry, friend. You're not going to send me up.
Yeah,
like
you
that.
better run because I'm about to clap you with logic over here. If someone listen, just stick with me. You don't even know what I'm going to say, and you're already rejecting it. Just stay with me here, Jason.
I can never kill.
Jason, stop. Jason,
I'm not a baby killer.
Okay,
you're not going to pigeonhole me into that. No, sirree.
Jason,
no,
Jason,
absolutely not. Absolutely.
Then
not.
I'll just say it without your participation, Jason. If someone kills a baby 1 minute after it's born, everyone agrees that's a baby killer. If you want to kill the baby 1 minute before it's born, don't you see how some people could associate that with being a baby killer?
Now you're defending that? Seriously? You're standing. That's the hill you're going to stand on right now and defend?
So not a yes or a no there. You're not going to answer it.
Because I'm not a baby killer.
I didn't say you were.
I don't.
See, this is the best they got. I'd rather be called that than Nazi or literally Hitler. Was Elon Musk accused of supporting apartheid when he was a Democrat or when he was perceived as a Republican? Now tell me which one's worse. Oh, this is great. I could do this all day. It's the James Show, 800-288-9227. It's News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. Hey there, welcome back to the James Show, News Talk 820 3 FM WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. And let me finish the conversation I was trying to have with the previous caller here. Because the conversation that you stumbled on, if you're just joining us, started on yesterday's show where a caller was doing this both sides thing. And that applies. There's legit criticisms for both sides on many issues when it comes to growing government or government spending or not balancing the budget or raising the debt ceiling. Yeah, both sides are terrible about it. Both sides are terrible about listening to the donors over the will of the people. Both sides are terrible about following the Constitution. But not when it comes to rhetoric. Not when it comes to, because the way it was put is like both sides need to settle down. Both sides need to calm down. Both sides need to tap the brakes and peel back some of the rhetoric here. No, one side's clearly worse. I'm not saying there's no such thing as Republican hyperbole, but it's not nearly as vicious, as big, as invective as what you just hear on a daily basis being hurled at Team Red from Team Blue. And I've got great examples. Elon Musk, when he was perceived to be a Democrat, was he ever accused of supporting apartheid, being apartheid? No. But he was after he was perceived to be on Team Red, right? So one side clearly throws out just crazy, insulting, incorrect, damaging, hyperbolic, hateful rhetoric, more so than the other. And it bothers me that I didn't change his mind, and then I didn't change the mind of the last guy either. And the worst thing he could come up with, because I was at the question becomes, well, what does Team Blue called or Team Red call Team Blue that's even close to Nazi or apartheid or literally Hitler? And the worst thing he came up with was baby killer. All right, and I was trying to make the point that if a baby is born and 1 minute later you kill it, everyone agrees you're a baby killer. If you back up time 2 minutes and instead of killing it 1 minute after it's born, you kill it 1 minute before it's born. Can't you see how a lot of people would associate that with killing a baby? Well, it wasn't born yet. Well, it's going to be born in 1 minute. So that's not really that much of a stretch. It's not even that much of an insult as much as it is to a lot of people a statement of fact. And only about 87% of people agree with me on that. But 13% of the country will tell a surveyor, a pollster, that they support partial birth abortion. That's the official position of the Democrat Party. So even if you're not actually in there hitting it in the head with an ice pick and shot back out its brains 1 minute before it's born, you support the people that do think that should be legal. So no, I don't even find that so much an insult. It's not a call to violence against you. There's no like historic hatred associated with it, like the Holocaust and Nazis or apartheid in South Africa. I still don't think I got through. What did I miss? Clint, Haltom City, you're on WBAP. Help me.
Well, first of all, I listened to the whole conversation you had with the guy yesterday.
Thank you.
At the time, I was getting a little frustrated because I was feeling what you were feeling. Because I think first of all, I don't think that there's anything that you could say to him to change his mind. That's just a fact. But what I see is that what they're not getting is that whenever we're calling him a snowflake or we're calling him a baby killer or everything that the previous caller was saying, we're more of just getting under their skin. And what they're calling us is it's incitements of violence. I mean, wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, and that's part of it. Yeah, snowflake. Really, that's not that bad at all. But
I mean, that's not that bad at all. I mean, and that's why I say whenever I say that about someone or to someone, I'm really just getting under their skin.
And hinting that someone wilts under pressure isn't nearly as bad as calling someone literally Hitler. Now, if you had someone that was a snowflake and they even admitted it and everyone knew they were a snowflake and they went up and they were debating the policy positions that they hold, like, I think we should cut Social Security, or I think we should expand Social Security, or I think we should raise or lower a tax, you would still have the debate with that guy because he's still a decent human being. He may be a little bit of a snowflake, but he's not a terrible person. Now, if literally Hitler's on the other podium arguing about his preferred policy, whatever it is, you would want to shut that guy down. You don't debate Hitler on his Social Security policy or on his tax policy. You go and fight Hitler. And so,
exactly.
So it turns people's brains off, and I think that's really destructive to the public dialogue. And I just wish we could fix that, Clint, and I'm doing a terrible job of it.
I wish we could get to a point where they could see where the people that are so close-minded on that side could see just have a moment to open their eyes and see, okay, hold on, because I do that with them.
Yeah, well, I know what you're about to say. It's super frustrating because you constantly get accused of being a hateful person, like a transphobe or a homophobe or a bigot or a racist. And here's the news flash. Here's the good news. We don't hate you. We're not driven by hate. Anyway, Betty Burleson, you're on WBAP.
Hi.
Hi, Betty.
Yeah. I don't know that this is as bad a rhetoric, but you mentioned Jasmine Crockett earlier. She has no filter, obviously. You were talking about her racist remarks, but she's the one who famously called Governor Abbott Governor Hot Wheels, claiming it wasn't about a disability. But this morning or yesterday, in a speech to the Democrats who fled Texas, she called the governor, I don't even want to say the word, she called him a POS, but she said the words, and I think that kind of hateful stuff, that is hateful. That could incite violence. I don't know. It may not to some people, but I think that's pretty low. But she talks like that anyway, and she gets away with it. I want to make a point that I really miss the days when our politicians, our statesmen and women actually had honor and dignity, and they wouldn't say stuff like that. It's just where we are today, and it's unfortunate.
Here it is, Betty.
Half the stuff that we see that's going on. Listen, Donald Trump is a piece of Okay, we know that. Yeah.
I obviously edited it. She didn't float an air biscuit when she was cussing, but
Right, yeah. She says the words, and she doesn't mind saying them. And her rhetoric is getting more and more, not just hateful, but she doesn't mind cussing in an open, forum.
Well, I'm not a pearl clutcher that's going to tell you cussing bothers me. I cuss a lot when I'm not on the radio, so I say the S word too, but not like that. I don't get on the air, and if I was in front of a crowd of people, I'd never call Obama or Biden or whoever else they run next time, or Kamala Harris or anyone. I just wouldn't say POS. Like, I don't know.
Right. She just throws those words out there. Maybe what she's thinking, but you need to filter yourself. You're in a public forum, and you've got lots of people listening, and these Democrats that just want to hear this kind of stuff. Well, Jasmine Crockett said it.
Yeah. Again, it's the content. It's not the necessarily bad word, because I also foresee a time when we get past this whole cussing stigma, and in like a generation or two, people are just going to say F and S on TV and on the radio and everywhere in the public domain. It'll be on billboards because, society's sort of decaying and standards are eroding. But your larger point, totally agree with that. Totally agree. Thank you very much. That's Betty and Burleson. Got a couple other great calls lined up on this Team Red versus Team Blue. Do both sides really need to tamp down the rhetoric, or is one side significantly worse than others? And that's sort of a self-answering question, but how do I get through to these people? I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. Hey there, welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I am your host, James Parker, 800-288-9227. If you can help me out with how do I have such a bad track record in trying to point out that when it comes to the rhetoric and when it comes to both sides need to calm down, I'm sure we would all like for everyone's rhetoric to be a little more flowery, a little more positive, not so mean, but isn't it clear to you? Because it's clear to me that one side is worse than the other when it comes to rhetoric, when it comes to keying cars, when it comes to chucking Molotov cocktails in Tesla dealerships, when it comes to looting stores, when it comes to chucking a brick through a window of an Apple store. But really just the rhetoric. Like how do you do a whataboutism? How do you do both sides argument on even the rhetoric? Team Blue calls Team Red Nazi, racist, sexist, bigot, homophobe, transphobe, Islamophobe. Just all these terrible things. White supremacists, white nationalists, Christo-fascist. That was my favorite one. Got called Christo-fascist last year. When is Christo-fascist even a thing that anyone's ever been in history? Has there ever been a Christo-fascist government ever? But I don't think I'm getting through to these people. I didn't get through to Don in Grand Prairie yesterday. I replayed that call, and then another guy called in. I don't think I got through to him. What am I missing? I thought this was obvious. Jesse in Whitewright, you're on WBAP.
Hey, so I don't think that you can get through to any of them. They're emotionally charged. I have a big family. We're split. And it seems like anyone on the left, they're so emotionally charged that you can't even get a word in. And anyone on the right in my family or anyone that I know, we are usually a similar type of person, like blue collar, hardworking, Christian, whatever you want to call it. And just kind of, that's not in our, repertoire to attack, just on a matter of opinion. But it's crazy that they're so emotionally charged on, topics and things that they want that half of the country could never agree to deliver on. Like what they want, totally goes against a half of their population's wants. What we want, I feel like, could benefit everyone. You know what I mean? Like,
well, that's probably what they think too. I think most of them are well intended. They're just misled in their worldview, and since they are looking through the wrong lens, they are making the wrong judgments and the wrong conclusions based on the same information you and I see.
Yeah. What is their most strong? What do they feel the strongest about? They feel the strongest about abortion, same-sex rights, and taking away people's guns. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
that is something that half of us, they have to accept. Half of us could never. You know what I mean? And all we want is pretty much, a better economy, more money.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I want lower taxes, smaller government. The rest of it just fills in the blanks. All right, good call, Jesse. I'm going to go to Gary and Tyler. Hey, Gary, you're on WBAP.
Hey, James, thanks for taking my call. What I'm really surprised is that we don't have anybody on the Republican side throwing out the race card like the Democrats do. If Donald Trump would have said something like that about Obama or any black member of Congress publicly the way she did, that's the first thing that should be brought out since, hey, light fire with fire, I always say.
I guess so. We don't have to imagine very hard. He calls them low IQ and dumb and stuff like that. I mean, it's not as hateful as, calling someone a Nazi or racist. She went on another spiel today where she was just saying, this is all racism. Everything that they're doing now is based on race. And the crazy part, Gary, is do you make any decisions based on race?
No.
I mean, any decision. Like if I was making an advertising campaign for a tanning salon, I would consider race. But here's the pretty truth instead of the ugly truth. Here's the pretty truth. Most of us get up, go on about our day, and we don't even think about race at all. I can't speak for everyone, but for the white people that I know, we don't sit around behind everyone's back talking about race. We don't care. I talk about the Cowboys. I talk about the news. I talk about money. I talk about sports. 800-288-9227. Coming up next on the James Show, a popular drink just lost an important court case for lying about their health benefits. I got news for you. Most of those health supplements are sus. I'll explain next on the James Show. News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. Well, hey there, fellow Texans. Welcome back to the James Show. News Talk 820 93.3 FM, WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. Have you heard of Poppy Soda? Do you know Poppy Soda? Garrett, do you know Poppy Soda? Or did you just hear about it in the pre-show meeting? Because we talked about it in the pre-show meeting. Focus, Garrett. Damn it. So Poppy Soda is one of these brands that is supposed to be healthy. You're not supposed to drink soda because it's unhealthy, but Poppy Soda is okay because it's healthy. It has health benefits. It's good for you. You're not eating junk food. You're eating health food. And so over the last 5 years, a lot of people bought Poppy thinking, oh, this is going to be good for my health. And what was the claims that they were making? Gut health. It's what they call a prebiotic. I think most people have heard of probiotic, which you're like, okay, that's like acidophilus and bifidus and the good bacteria that's in things like yogurt. But prebiotic, it's supposed to be similar. It's a fiber that helps aid with digestion and it's supposed to help you, not get the runs or whatever. And so they got sued. There's some class action lawsuits that went down in California. They all got combined into one big one. And then we just learned that Poppy lost their lawsuit. It turns out, yes, they do have prebiotic fiber in their soda, but it's such a trifling, minute, insignificant amount. There's no way it can have the health benefits that are promised by the company. Aha. Interesting. So there's a class action lawsuit. There's a big award that's coming with it, like $8 billion or something ridiculous like that. Now you can go get your share of Poppy money if you have some receipts over all the Poppy that you drank for the last 5 years. So go ahead if you're an absolute psycho that keeps up with all your receipts and catalogs them. For the rest of us, if you can't have any proof of purchase, you can still go make a claim on the honor system. You're just capped at $16 for the check that you can get off the lawsuit. Because per single can of Poppy that you drank between January 23rd of 2020 and July 18th of this year, you can get 75 cents per single can, $3 per 4-pack, $6 per 8-pack, or $9 per 12 or 15-pack. Now, if you have proof of purchase, there's no cap on the reimbursement you can get. You just have to submit it online or by mail, like with a stamp, by September 16th, 2025. I got news for you. Not only did I assume Poppy didn't have the meaningful gut health benefits it claimed, it has been my observation that most of these air quote healthy snacks and junk foods and whatnot are also in the category of a farce. I have a little more inside info than just this is what I've observed as a talk show host, which is what a lot of my segments are based on. But in this one, the last job I had, in fact, the job I had when I started working in radio, I was working at a place called Vitamin World, and it was in the mall. I worked at the one in Willow Bend. I worked at the one in Valley View Mall when that was still a thing before it got demolished, Richardson Square Mall, Stonebriar Mall. I got moved around a bunch. I was only there for a couple of years, but I'm kind of into health, and I read every label of every product that's in there. I read every magazine that came and sat on it. Remember, there used to be magazines in stores? I read every health and fitness magazine every month that came through that store. And I came to notice that about half of the stuff, I don't want to say half, a lot of the stuff that we were carrying, much like any of these vitamin stores, Vitamin Shop, Vitamin World, GNC, were worthless. A big chunk of them were worthless. I'm not going to say everything in there was worthless. My God, vitamin C, that's legit. When you go get an amino acid, that's legit. Creatine, protein powder, legit. There's a lot of legit stuff in there. There's also a lot of not legit stuff like echinacea, or if you're going to have some tree bark to prevent a cold or something. There's all kinds of things that you should be skeptical of. But one thing that I learned is that if things work, if these drugs, if these cures actually worked, they wouldn't be in a supplement shop. They would be in a drug store. So if you go to a supplement shop, it's different in a drugstore in the fact that it is not regulated nearly as tightly, and for good reason. Whenever you see some of these health benefits that are on like cereal boxes, like Fruit Loops has this full day supply of vitamin C. Or, oh, well, I thought this was junk food. I wasn't going to feed it to my kids. I was going to feed them, plants and animals, actual healthy food. But if Fruit Loop says full day supply of vitamin C, there's at least some healthy option in there. Well, for a kid that's 8 years old, your full day supply of vitamin C is 25 milligrams. If you're an adolescent, 45 milligrams. If you're an adult, 90 milligrams. So not a whole lot. When I worked at Vitamin World, there was people that would come in there. They'd be taking 5,000 milligrams of vitamin C a day. Now that was on the high end, but it was quite normal for people to take 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C a day. So that's more than 10 times what you would find in a double serving of Fruit Loops. So what's going on there? When we have these standards, like who decided how much vitamin C we need a day? Is that the amount of vitamin C that we need to be our optimum level of health? Or is that the minimum amount of vitamin C that we need to consume just so we don't get scurvy or some disease? Were these rules written by a government bureaucrat who is concerned about the well-being of the donors from General Mills and Kellogg and whoever makes breakfast cereals or any of these other ones, these food corporations? They want those numbers to be as low as possible so they can tout health benefits. And then after they lie to you about how healthy it is, they can go to court and say, it's not a lie. It really does have its full day supply of vitamin C. And I believe it's only because the FDA hadn't written in the lies into law yet on this new prebiotic fiber angle. That's the only reason they didn't get away with it. I got news for you. The FDA is a complete farce. If they were there to prevent the food companies from lying to you about what's on the label, look at orange juice. Most orange juice that you buy, you can go find it like a Tropicana or some other name brand. It says natural on it. But that doesn't appear anywhere in nature. You have deoxygenated orange juice that after you take the oxygen out, it kind of tastes like pond water, kind of looks like pond water. So they reinsert coloring, they reinsert flavoring into it. They just use natural coloring and natural flavoring. And so this thing that doesn't exist in nature, they can call it natural on the label. And you can't go sue them and say this is a lie. This doesn't appear anywhere in nature. They say, no, the FDA says this meets the definition of natural. So the FDA has become the process by which food companies can legally lie to your face when its intent, and the reason why a lot of people still think it exists, is they think it's there to prevent them from lying to you. No, it doesn't prevent it. And it doesn't just allow it. It facilitates the lying. That's the big lesson with Poppy. And George Carlin was on to this too.
The word natural is completely meaningless. Everything is natural. Nature includes everything. It's not just trees and flowers. It's everything. A chemical company's toxic waste is completely natural. It's part of nature. We're all part of nature. Everything is natural. Dog is natural. It's just not real good food.
Coming up next, James Varney from Real Clear Politics. Texas news going national. Is our redistricting going to catch on with other states? You'll find out next on The James Show. News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. Hey there, welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. My next guest, my good friend, James Varney from Real Clear Politics. Welcome back to the big show. So we are the talk of the nation here in Texas. Our redistricting issues are on the tip of many tongues here. The governor of New York has made statements about it. Governor J.B. Pritzker in Illinois is hosting some of our fleeing Democrats. We had them speak with the governor of Massachusetts yesterday in a press conference. Governor Newsom of California says that if we go through with it, he's going to do the same damn thing. So over here in Texas, we thought we were just kind of minding our own business, dealing with our own maps. Is this about to be the next national trend? Is mid-decade redistricting? Wait, explain why. Why do you say that? What number are you referencing for that? Yeah. Dang, why are we taking shots at Pritzker's for based on his appearance here? Okay. Hang on, Garrett, did you strike that from the record? Yeah. No. Okay, so we all agree that all states are gerrymandered and all maps are gerrymandered. I think there is one thing different that in the Texas one is that it's happening in the middle of the decade and it hadn't been ordered by a court. Yes. So in Texas, the conversation has turned to what should happen to these lawmakers who flee the state, specifically to avoid doing their job. Now, a lot of us would like to see them go to jail. I would like to see them go to jail. Not like solitary confinement for the rest of their life, but 30 days, 90 days in jails, just something to actually punish them, not just a fine, which doesn't change their life one whit. But I think a bare minimum should be you lose your seat. No. What are you talking about? No, Beto O'Rourke married a very, very rich family. His wife is from one of the richest families in El Paso. So this is why he has the bottomless well to go to run for office every couple of years. I bet he runs for something else again. Hang on, can I hit pause? We got to take a break here. We'll continue with the great James Varney from RealClearPolitics.com next, and we'll move on from why are the Democrats fleeing in Texas and what's going to happen to them to the same conversation we were having in the last hour about do both sides really need to tone it down? I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. Hey there, welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I am your host, James Parker, continuing with my guest from Real Clear Politics and Real Clear Investigations, the great James Varney. Now, I noticed you did something quite clever. Your one of your latest works here has a dad joke in the headline. I'll read it for everyone who's not looking at the website right now. James Varney's latest article. America's critical mining industry finds itself in a deep hole. See what you did there? I see what you did there, because it's mining and they're in a deep hole, which is what miners do. And nothing gets by me. So give me the details. How is America's critical mining industry in a deep hole? Right. And I find myself having to Google things that I didn't even know existed. Like I had to look up scandiums. Like that's an element. What the heck is scandium? I've never used that before, but apparently we haven't had a scandium mine in the United States. I guess what, in my lifetime? Who did? The government did? Oh, okay. The Pentagon did it. That makes sense. James Varney from Real Clear Politics. The environmental argument in some of these rare earth mining issues drives me insane. You know, they don't want us to strip mine over here. And so we have to do all this stuff that's more dangerous. It's more costly. It's less efficient. It's slower. It's longer. And instead of doing it here, if you put these requirements on, then we just go buy it from China, who does what? Strip mining. So they don't actually prevent the strip mining. They just prevent us from profiting on our own minerals and instead having to ship that money to our biggest geopolitical foe. Right. Well, I'm not going to lie to you and say I read the whole article because it's so damn long. How long does it take you to write one of these articles? This is like a white paper. This is a short story. Well, good, because I'm so glad you're on the show today because I really needed my scandium update. I was wondering really what's going on with the scandium industry. All right, you can find his latest work from Real Clear Investigations. It's also on the front page of realclearpolitics.com. James Varney, the article, America's Critical Mining Industry Finds Itself in a Deep Hole. Thanks again for your time, James. Deep hole, yes, finds itself in a deep hole. Thank you for the last correction. Now get off my show, dude. All right, coming up next on the James Show, I have some words of wisdom from George Carlin that apply very much to today's headlines. We'll get a good laugh next on the James Show. News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey there, welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. You know, one of the hallmarks of good comedy is when it's timeless. You see that with, when's the last time you watched an episode of Seinfeld? The amazing thing about that is it was made in the 90s when we didn't really have cell phones like we have them now. Not everyone had one. Remember, we had answering machines. And there was a whole episode about answering machines in there. And there's whole episodes about things that only existed in the 90s. And they don't exist now. We don't live life like that. You know, we do most of this stuff on our phone. It's still funny. George Carlin absolutely stands the test of time. And George Carlin gets political credit from both sides of the aisle because he will make fun of liberals and environmentalists and things like that. And then he will turn around and he'll make fun of conservatives and religious people and things like that. However, it doesn't seem like either side really gets butthurt about it because the first rule is it's funny. The second rule is it's based in a kernel of truth. And third, it's not really hateful. You understand? It's not really intended to dehumanize someone. It's just making fun of people's patterns. So that's good stuff. Now, earlier, George Carlin was on the show because this drink had gotten a lawsuit and it lost the lawsuit because it didn't really have the health benefits that it claimed. And I was making the case of the word natural is a great example of how the government and the Food and Drug Administration, not only do they not prevent lying to you or they're indifferent to lying to you, they allow lying. They codify and legalize lying to you. And so we stopped on this one word, natural, which you see on a lot of food products. And what a weird adjective this is to add to food.
The word natural is completely meaningless. Everything is natural. Nature includes everything. It's not just trees and flowers. It's everything. A chemical company's toxic waste is completely natural. It's part of nature. We're all part of nature. Everything is natural. Dog is natural. It's just not real good food.
And that's something that stuck with me. I probably saw that bit, 20 years ago? And so many times when I've gone into a restaurant or picked up a package in a grocery store or looked at some review online and it uses the word natural, that's what I think of. I think of dog squeeze. Oh, yeah, dog squeeze is natural. I usually say the real word. But, that applies to other words that are used, not just for marketing in general, but specifically for food.
Got to look at some advertising lingo, especially food advertising. You know the people. Fresh, natural, hearty, old-fashioned, homemade goodness in a can. That kind of stuff. So let's take a look. Let's take a look at some of these words. Old-fashioned. When you hear old-fashioned, you're supposed to think, oh, this goes back to the old days. Right. The old days. Before we had sanitation laws. Before hygiene became popular. Back when botulism was still considered a sauce. Homemade. You see homemade in the restaurants, too. Homemade soup. I don't care how much the amphetamine-driven waitress with the Marlboro lines in her face reminds you of your mother. The soup is not homemade.
Oh, I just can't cheer for that one hard enough. That's something I say when I go to restaurants and they're like, this is homemade beef stew. It can't be homemade if it's in a restaurant. That's what the word means. It means it's not made in a restaurant. It's not made in some factory setting. It's not coming out of a can. It's made in a home. We're not in a home. It wasn't made in a home. Did you make this in your home and then you brought it up here? No, you didn't. So I have a problem with that. Not that it's like affects your life or has any sort of negative impact, but it's just lying to your face. Advertising, just lying to your face. George Carlin explains why he doesn't vote.
And secondly, I don't vote because I believe if you vote, you have no right to complain. People like to twist that around. I know. They say, well, if you don't vote, you have no right to complain. But where's the logic in that? If you vote and you elect dishonest, incompetent people, and they get into office and screw everything up, well, you are responsible for what they have done. You caused the problem. You voted them in. You have no right to complain. I On the other hand, who did not vote, who, in fact, did not even leave the house on election day, am in no way responsible for what these people have done and have every right to complain as loud as I want about the mess you created that I had nothing to do with.
Thank you very much. That's the great George Carlin. I wish we had more time with him, but at least we have YouTube. All right, are you a Brian Kilmeade fan? You see him on Fox and Friends. You can hear him on our sister station, KLIF. He's going to be back in Dallas. He was just here a few months ago. He's coming back August 23rd. This is for his History, Liberty, and Laughs tour. It's going to be at the Winspear Opera House, not too far from where I'm sitting right now here in Dallas. And if you want to try and win some tickets from us, you can text the word Liberty, because it's the History, Liberty, and Laughs tour. Text Liberty to 800-288-9227. It's the same as the call-in number, same phone number. Text the word Liberty to 800-288-9227. That'll enter you in our contest to win a pair of tickets. And really, your odds are pretty good. You'd be surprised at how few people text in on this. You know, you may think, well, it's a metropolitan area of 8 million people. Yeah, but 8 million people aren't texting in. It's a few hundred, maybe a few thousand at the most. So go ahead and text Liberty to 800-288-9227. Try and win a pair of tickets from us. Or if you want to go ahead and buy them, go to attpac.org, like the AT&T Performing Arts Center, attpac.org to get tickets to Brian Kilmeade's History, Liberty, and Laughs tour. All right, that's going to about do it for the James Show today. When I get out of here, I'm going to go put up the podcast. Go find it. Also, find me on social media whenever you're goofing around, when you're in the bathroom, when you're waiting in line at the grocery store, when you're sitting on your couch, not watching TV, but watching your phone, scrolling through social media. You know, we have social media. Find WBAP. You can find the guys from the morning show. Hal, Jay, and Ernie both put up funny stuff on a regular basis. There's the James Show. You can find Casey's stuff. You can find our sister station, KLIF. But we have it it's on Facebook, YouTube, X, all the good stuff. So go check us out there. And, the James Show continues the other 21 hours a day when I'm not on the air. Stick around. The great one, Mark Levin's coming up next. I'm James Parker. This has been the James Show on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP.